why is it important to have a release form for your interviews? I think a lot of podcasters, they only see the content side of the podcast and of the interviews, but I think sometimes we tend to often overlook those God forbid scenarios. You turn around and an interviewer says, hey, or someone who you interviewed may come back and say, I don't want that up anymore. Tell us why it's important to have a release for your interviews.
Well, first off, you need to have, a formal permission from the person to record their voice. In most states, not all states, but we have, the person has a right to say yes or no to being recorded. And beyond that, even if you're in one of those states where you only need one side of a conversation's permission to record, to use it in a way that makes it public is a different game. And you need a person's permission to make their performance, if you will, public. So step one is the permission. Step two is ownership of the content. If you don't have the right language, there can be questions raised about whether you actually own the whole thing, or does the other party own a portion, or are you co-owners of the recording, or those kinds of things. And then you get into questions about money. If you do monetize your show, or if you use that material later on as a part of a information product, or behind a paywall or something like that, does that person have a right to get paid from the stuff that you did together? And then finally, there's that issue of somebody coming along and saying, I changed my mind, I don't want that podcast, that recording to be public anymore, take it down. My point of view is sometimes it's okay to take it down, sometimes it isn't, but that should be the podcaster's decision. After all, the podcaster has made the investment of time and energy and resources to make the thing happen and publicize it and publish the show. And so it should be squarely on the podcaster's side of the equation to decide whether or not to take it down. After all, some of us are doing what I would characterize as true journalism. And when you are doing a series of stories on a topic, or you just feel like you're getting a particular coverage of a particular topic, for someone to come along and say, hey, that episode has to go, now that leaves a gap in your RSS feed. That raises eyebrows and questions for some people, but it also takes out valuable, good information off the market. And again, I think that should be our decision to make, and not the guest who has second thoughts. Now, that said, I'll just say, if you have a guest who has second thoughts and it's going to cost them their job, or or they're going to get in some kind of trouble, then you do the right thing. You make a decision to pull it down anyway. But again, it should be on up to you and not them.
Of course. And now, would you say also that, let's say, some podcasters, before they go into the interview, may, on record and on the recording, have a, let's say, just like a written out thing and an agreement that's recorded? Does that count also, or would you say it's two separate things altogether?
Well, it can count, but I want to, the caveat is you got to say the right words the right way every single time. And right. I think a lot of folks don't do it. If you're reading from a script, then I suppose, you're going to get it right every time, if you remember to read from the script verbatim. And so I actually do offer a free release form that people can get downloaded. Just visit podcastrelease.com and give me your email address, and I'll send you this form. And in the packet that you get, the PDF that you'll get, there is a sort of a script for it as well. So you can do that oral. I like to see a piece of paper, or a web form that you fill out and check the box and that kind of thing, just to really affirmatively manifest the intention to give the release and be bound by the contract.
Yeah, it's really important, because a lot of, again, when you interview somebody, I guess a lot of people consider that the act alone of doing the recording is enough of a release. But like you said, unless you have it on record what the terms and conditions actually are, it could add a lot of legal pitfall later on.
Yeah, it's true. Contracts can be implied from the way you behave and your conduct, but the challenge becomes proving, well, what does the contract really provide for? And if it doesn't say irrevocable, if it doesn't say in perpetuity, if it doesn't say any and all media now known or hereafter devised, then maybe you're only allowed to use it on your podcast episode for the week that it comes out, and then it's supposed to be gone, something crazy like that. So you don't want to have to get into a situation where you're paying lawyers to go to court to fight over these kinds of things. So having it on paper makes the difference.